It's Thursday, June 22. In the headlines, JUTC to get 50 new buses, and we feature community heroine Ms. Karen Sidhu. In business news, gas prices are down, plus calls for policy action to boost productivity. Regionally, Trinidad and Tobago joins Women, Peace and Security Network. Internationally, US-China tensions threaten Taiwan's status as global chip hub. And in sports, West Indies head coach Darren Sammy wants more batting aggression. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Commuters should see additional buses on some routes across Kingston, St. Andrew and St. Catherine by the end of the month. Minister of Tourism Edmund Bartlett made the disclosure as he closed the 2023-2024 sectoral debate in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. He says the Jamaica Urban Transit Company, JUTC, will receive 50 new buses, 45 diesel and 5 electric buses.
The infusion of modern and environmental friendly vehicles will improve the JUTC's capacity to serve our citizens and enhance our public transportation system's overall efficiencies and reliability.
The JUTC is the exclusive provider of public transit services in the Kingston Metropolitan Transport Region, which comprises Kingston, St. Andrew and Portmore, and Spanish Town in St. Catherine. Governor General, His Excellency, the Most Honorable Sir Patrick Allen, has proclaimed Friday, June 23, as a National Day of Mourning for Jamaica's children who have been victims of violence and abuse. He made the proclamation on Wednesday. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has endorsed it. He says Jamaicans are being encouraged to participate in the day, noting that this may include devotionals, remembrance services in homes, workplaces, churches and schools, and private or small group prayer vigils. Persons may also engage in individual or group moments of silence, the turning on of headlights and the wearing of black, the tolling of church bells at noon, and any other appropriate response. Mr. Holness, in his remarks during the ceremony, said the proclamation was more than words on a document, emphasizing that it is intended to mobilize the collective hurt of the nation into positive action for change. He informed that the government is in the process of finalizing new legislation that will include increasing the penalties for murders and associated crimes and amendments to the Domestic Violence Act, among other relevant laws. Individuals may experience disruptions when calling the 211 child abuse reporting hotline. The Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA, says in an advisory that the disruptions that individuals may experience will happen until Friday, June 23, and they're due to an island-wide upgrade of its communications system. The CPFSA has apologized for any resulting inconvenience and invites people experiencing difficulty accessing the hotline to call 876-822-7031. That's 876-822-7031. Or call or send a WhatsApp message to 876-878-2882. That's 876-878-2882. They may also send an email to ort@childprotection.gov.jm. Farmers in sections of South St. Elizabeth, South Manchester and parts of St. Anne who were recently adversely affected by heavy rainfalls are to benefit from a $63 million support package from the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining. Portfolio Minister Floyd Green toured some of the affected areas last week and made the announcement on Wednesday. Speaking at the launch of the 69th staging of the Denby Agricultural, Industrial and Food Show at Hypo Supercenter in St. Catherine, Minister Green said that the sum will be allocated for various purposes. These include restoring damaged crops, irrigation and road rehabilitation, the purchase of mulch, and more. She was born in Gregory Park, Portmore, but was taken to Bog Walk when she was just a week old. Volunteering is in her blood. Ms. Karen Sidhu says she feels fulfilled when she's serving her fellow citizens, and it all started when she was a teen. This month, we celebrate this passionate community heroine. Ms. Sidhu says the idea of establishing True United Sisters came to her at age 17 as she observed her parents trying creative means to ensure the family's survival.
The vision was from age 17, but the establishment of the organization came 25 years after. I just got up one day and said, you know, it's full time now. This is dragging out too long. And I just started True United Sisters with some of my friends.
She says when it started, she would use her own money to send women to classes.
The JIS part of it also helped me to do what I'm doing today because I was the producer of a 5-minute feature called Roundabout JA. And as the name suggests, I had to go all over Jamaica to get stories and so on to highlight for Roundabout JA. So that too inspired me to volunteer and to do community work. But then I became so involved, it became such a big part of me that even when I left the JIS and I went to other agencies, I just couldn't focus on the work. I just wanted to go there and help people because there are so many persons who need assistance, so many persons who are unaware of their rights, you know, their opportunities and so on and so forth. So there was a time when I was working at the Ministry of Labour and Social Security as a public relations officer. I could not focus because some of my former co-workers, they couldn't understand why I was in this thing. And I can say it on camera. They even took my name to the permanent secretary to say all I talk about is True United Sisters.
Since then, the organization has grown. It even has a small chapter in Canada run by Mr. and Mrs. Orrit Smith.
This is our third location. But you talk about expanding. We have expanded the programs as well because when we started, we usually assist unemployed and unskilled women. Now we're working with young people. We work with senior citizens, the indigent, youths at risk. The My Students of the Month program now is geared specifically at students who are performing well, right? So what we do, we provide their lunch money and their bus fare for the month. So we might select 2 students for a month and we do that for them. We get the total cost and we would, provide that for them. So that's My Students for the month. Senior citizens, we have a program called Someone Cares. And this program is primarily for the seniors who don't have anybody in particular to care for them. So we place them on the program. They might be hypertensive, they might be diabetic, they might be visually impaired, whatever kind of disabilities. We place them on the program. Sometimes we'd go to their homes, we'd clean their houses, provide whatever they need, groceries and so on and so forth, assist them with medication, fair to the doctor's appointment, that kind of thing. So that someone cares.
There's also a back-to-school program.
When we start having these big award ceremony, and each year we'd identify students who are in need, students who have excelled, because we have different categories. We have the scholarships, we have the needy part of it, and different categories. So it has been a success. Last year, 2022, we awarded $594,000 to 22 students. So each year it kind of gets bigger, right? So that is one of our main programs. With the unemployed and unskilled women, if they come to us and we find that they're genuine and so on, and we can assist them to get a skill with funding, we also do that.
Yeah, we still go over some place down in some gullies to distribute packages to senior citizens. Sometimes she has sleepless night thinking about how she's gonna get funds for a student to go back to college or to pay CXCR, unskilled mothers and so forth.
Despite the challenges with transportation and just funding on a whole, the True United Sisters are looking to expand their service offerings.
We want to assist them to go to school in terms of financial assistance and so on, because they have some groups that people have forgotten or they get very little help. So you know, we have been doing what we can do with the resources that we have.
Ms. Sadu is asking for your help.
That is what we'd really, really welcome, because we can't do anything. We have the vision, we have the ideas, we have everything apart from the finances. Please feel free to contact us at 876-421-0404. That's 876-421-0404. Or we're located in Church Road, that's in Bogwog in St. Catherine.
Time now for the business report with Denita Rodney.
Motorists should see a decrease at the pumps in the price of gasoline and an increase in the price of diesel effective Thursday, June 22, according to the latest ex-refinery costs from Petrojam. With both grades of gasoline down by 25 cents, 87 octane will sell for $170.20 per liter, while 90 octane gasoline will sell for $173.73 per liter. With a 25 cents increase, automotive diesel fuel will sell for $166.22 per liter, ultra-low sulfur diesel will sell for $173.82 per liter, and kerosene will sell for $177.22 per liter. Propane liquid petroleum will sell for $56.12 per liter, down by 25 cents, and butane liquid petroleum will sell for $63.25 per liter after a decrease of 4 cents. Remember, marketing companies and retailers will add their respective markups to these prices. In his address to the JPC's World Productivity Day Forum on Tuesday, outgoing chairman of the Jamaica Productivity Center, Anthony Hyde, says the country needs a sustainable development policy to boost productivity. Mr. Hyde said policy action has to drive the critical outcomes needed for growth.
In the 1950s and 60s, Jamaica saw an annual average increase in productivity of 3.9%. But in the 70s, we saw a dramatic decline. What caused the change? Policy. Jamaica needs to have a sustainable development policy to move up the value chain as well as to broaden our economic base. If Jamaica were to put the policies in place that support economic development in the long term across administration, policies that were supported like an epoch, we could see economic growth in Jamaica that would probably result in balance of payment surplus of 10 to 15 billion US dollars annually.
Now for your market updates. In foreign exchange trading for Wednesday, June 21, the US dollar sold for an average of $155.33. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $117.40. The pound sterling traded for $195.88, and the euro sold for an average of $170.65. In JSE trading, the JSE index advanced by 2,357 points. The junior market index advanced by 25 points. The combined market index advanced by 2,428 points. And the All Jamaican Composite Index advanced by 1,549 points. Overall market activity resulted in trading in 104 stocks, of which 44 advanced, 43 declined, and 17 traded firm. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, Barita Investments Limited, and Berger Paints Jamaica Limited. Stocks declined for Access Financial Services Limited, Blue Power Group Limited, and Caribbean Producers Jamaica Limited. Trading firm were 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited Variable Preference, AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, and Apple Limited 7.75% preference shares. The overall volume leaders were Dollar Financial Services Limited with over 2 million units, Image Plus Consultants Limited, and Trans Jamaican Highway Limited with over 1 million units. In regional stocks, in Trinidad and Tobago, 0 securities were traded. On the Barbados Stock Exchange, Goddard Enterprises Limited was the sole security trading over 4,000 shares. In regional business, the Caribbean Development Bank continues to urge regional governments to explore opportunities for collaboration. Addressing the opening ceremony of the 53rd annual meeting of the CBD, the entity's president, Dr. Jean Leon, said the region needs to look into a number of partnerships.
Sharing technology to improve productivity, global productivity, and focusing on national goals that can be effectively delivered through complementarities and synergies between the private and the public sectors, thereby helping to break the trust barriers that exist between public and private sectors, and unifying a focus on country prosperity.
Dr. Leon said that these partnerships linked to knowledge creation and skill development can help create jobs and business opportunities.
Partnerships can also occur in capacity building. For example, we can reimagine our learning systems and develop centers of excellence through using technology to bridge skills gaps across the Caribbean islands, particularly in new and emerging areas such as animation and gaming, robotics, digital media, and green engineering. This can expand skill sets and create jobs and business opportunities, particularly for the youth of our region, and help to mitigate some of the outward migration of our best and brightest young people.
In market data for oil futures fell with trader concern over bearish impact from interest rate hikes countered by potentially bullish U.S. oil inventory data. Brent futures dropped $1.69 to $75.43 a barrel, and West Texas Intermediate crude futures were down $1.63 to $70.90. And that was the business report on PBCJ. I'm Danita Rodney.
In regional news, in the last 4.5 years, the cost to deport illegal immigrants in the Bahamas amounted to $9 million. Bethany McDermott has the details.
Ongoing economic and political turmoil in Haiti having a domino effect on neighboring countries like the Bahamas, which has seen an influx in migrant apprehensions in recent months. The influx means more resources are needed to protect our borders and more money is needed for repatriations. Our news looked at the data and it shows government spends millions annually on repatriations alone. According to Immigration Minister Keith Bell, between July 1, 2022 and April 30, 2023, $1.9 million was spent on repatriations. While it's unclear how much was spent for 2022 alone, in October, Immigration Director Keturah Ferguson told the Nassau Guardian $2.3 million was spent up to that point. She also revealed $2.4 million was spent in 2021, $1.3 million in 2020, $1.6 million in 2019, and $2.2 million in 2018. That means between 2018 and April 2023, more than $9.4 million was spent on deportation exercises.
And what happens is you appreciate, because we don't know when we're going to have an influx. And so you can never really budget for that.
But each year, funds are earmarked for repatriations. Ahead of the 2023-2024 fiscal year, which starts in July 1, $1.9 million is allocated for repatriation. That's the same figure spent on repatriations between July 2022 and April 2023. Should more funds be needed, the department will have to go to Cabinet. In the meantime, the government is seeking international assistance.
I had a meeting yesterday with the United Nations Human Rights Commission. I also had a meeting last week with the International Organization for Migration, and they have sought to partner with us.
While the majority of migrants come from Haiti, officials say other nationalities like Brazilians, Colombians, Dominicans, Ecuadorians, Chinese, Guyanese, and Filipinos also face deportation.
Trinidad and Tobago has moved to adopt the United Nations Women, Peace and Security Agenda. This is according to Minister with Responsibility for Gender and Child Affairs, Ayanna Webster-Roy. Terriana Brown-Campbell has the story.
In April 2023, Trinidad and Tobago joined the United Nations Women, Peace and Security Focal Points Network. Minister with Responsibility for Gender and Child Affairs, Ayanna Webster-Roy, earlier this month led a delegation to Washington for the 5th capital meeting of the network.
We are in the process of adapting this framework to Trinidad and Tobago's context, keeping in mind our society's unique needs and capacities. We look forward to your active participation as we collect your feedback and suggestions to draft our first WPS National Action Plan. Identify key players in this process and then implement it.
Meanwhile, National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines says he has seen firsthand, while engaging with women in his community, the effects our escalating crime rate has on women and girls.
Women are the worst afflicted and the worst sufferers from any type of upheaval, whether it's climate change, whether it is civil strife, whatever is the nature of the problem, our women are the ones, the women of the world are the ones who bear the heavier burdens.
Minister Webster Roy points out she grew up in an area in Tobago that traditionally was crime-free. But the area has seen drive-by shootings and gun crimes in recent years.
Today, I ask you to consider the application of the WPS agenda in addressing issues such as gun and gang violence, domestic violence, climate change, health crises, and other challenges that we grapple with as a nation on an ongoing basis.
The minister indicates by strategically placing women in leadership roles in our efforts to address these issues, the country will benefit from their unique input. The ministers were speaking at the opening ceremony of a workshop to implement a Women, Peace and Security National Action Plan. Terry-Ann Brown-Campbell, TTT News.
In Guyana, Education Minister Priya Manikchand on Tuesday highlighted how difficult learning and engagement has been in some overpopulated schools, but she promised relief is forthcoming with the construction of several new schools.
Several schools are being rebuilt, extended, or constructed for the first time across Georgetown and other parts of the country. These projects are being executed as part of efforts to accommodate children more comfortably in schools. And Education Minister Priya Manikchand on Tuesday, during a contract signing event, implored contractors to finish these schools on time.
At Queenstown Secondary right now, the children go to school half of the school week because we don't have spaces for them. So if you say you'll finish this in 7 months and you do not finish it in 7 months, at the cost that you bid for it, then you're disadvantaging children. And it's not something we're going to view nicely or kindly.
With several new secondary schools, Manikchand said Guyana would inch closer to achieving universal secondary education. She also noted that opening these schools is also helping to solve current overpopulation woes.
It's not only Georgetown, Abramsule and Aurora had to do shifts and rotate for all the time that Abramsule was being built. It's not premium education being delivered. We struggle as it is. The world struggles to deliver what they need to deliver at the required quality when we have an 8-hour-day class in secondary schools. You can imagine what happens when you cut that in half. So it's been really, really rough trying to deliver education, keep children in school, keep them engaged, and do that at a quality that is acceptable.
At least 11 schools will be opened by the end of this year. 2 secondary schools, the Good Hope and Abramsule secondary schools, are being opened this week. Reporting for the newsroom, Vishani Raghaber.
In international news, anyone who makes a phone call or uses their electronic devices, chances are they are using a computer chip made in Taiwan, as the island is the world's leading semiconductor manufacturer. But the geopolitical power play between the United States and China is threatening Taiwan's economic success. Al Jazeera's Barnaby Lowe reports.
In this laboratory in Yangming Jiaotong University, near Taiwan's tech hub in Hsinchu, students are learning about semiconductor technology. Nick Chang is taking his PhD and hopes to be part of the world's largest semiconductor industry.
Taiwan's semiconductor industry has become so huge in recent years. The Taiwanese government has invested a lot of resources in it, as well as in schools.
Throughout the pandemic, Taiwan's semiconductor sector maintained its lead, but it is now in the crosshairs of a geopolitical power play between the United States and China.
If the products or the technology contain U.S. technology, though it's Taiwanese company and it's Taiwanese products and made here, and you have to follow the U.S. rules.
The U.S. has restricted the export of semiconductor materials to China to prevent it from being able to make advanced microchips. Taiwan has followed suit. Now local companies have no choice but to adapt.
Companies, they have to find their own way out. Okay, otherwise they cannot survive in the markets. So they have to follow the global trend.
And at the center of it all is one company. TSMC produces more than half of the world's microchips. TSMC is set to open a plant in Arizona next year. Now, one of the concerns is that its biggest client, Apple, the company that makes your iPhones, could be buying chips out of this U.S. facility and taking along with it parts of the supply chain here in Taiwan, which in turn could take a huge chunk of the island's tech revenue away. Adding to Taiwan's worries, China's import ban on Taiwanese goods. In 2021, it was pineapples, 90% of which were sold to China. The following year, Beijing blocked the shipment of fish, a day after former U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan.
It's getting more and more measures and also targeting a variety of different products.
But unless China stops buying Taiwanese semiconductors, analysts say the economic impact is manageable. Beijing is also likely to think twice about attacking Taiwan, they say, because semiconductors run modern devices, which are essential to modern life, including in China. Barnabelow, Al Jazeera, Hsinchu, Taiwan.
In sports, West Indies head coach Darren Sammy is wary of the threat posed by the new ball in the early morning conditions in Zimbabwe, but has called for more intent from his batters.
Under Sammy and Hope, West Indies are looking to adopt a more aggressive approach, and on Sunday they had batting all the way down to number 11 with all-rounder Akil Hussain slotting in there. It was this depth that perhaps promoted the likes of Hope and Nicholas Pooran to keep playing their shots. The West Indies' next game is against Nepal, who had strung together an improbable series of wins to make it to the World Cup qualifier. Sammy made it clear that the West Indies are not taking any opposition lightly in a cutthroat tournament, which allows just 2 teams to qualify for the World Cup later this year in India. Meanwhile, West Indies one-day international skipper Shai Hope spoke on consistency and the importance of batting responsibly ahead of their second World Cup qualifier against Nepal on Thursday.
The middle order has been the biggest concern for us of late. But again, all of our batters need to pull the weight. We need to take full responsibility with the bat and give our bowlers the best opportunity to finish games. Again, if we get a good start with 2 openers by the entire innings, then we don't have to worry about the middle. But yeah, like I said, we have to take full responsibility as a batting group and make sure we get those big totals on the board. And if we're chasing, to score the runs in a more convincing manner.
Hope says the West Indies has all the human assets needed to become an elite team and is hoping his leadership can pull them through to the top of the qualifiers.
But for us is to understand our game a lot more. I think that we getting there is a process. We definitely know it's not going to happen overnight. But the aim is to do whatever I can for the team, obviously. But it's for our batters to understand their worth and have that self-belief within themselves to know, okay, I can get the job done for West Indies. And the more they can do that, I can see more consistent performances happening. And hopefully it starts from tomorrow.
And that's the news on PBCJ. Thanks so much for watching.